What's up, everybody? I'm Scott.
I'm Jason.
And you're listening to Liquid Kernedge. What's up, buddy?
Oh, nothing much, man. I'm just living the dream, baby.
Oh, yeah. Whose dream is it?
Well, it's probably mine, but that's an interesting way that you put that. Because last night I was watching 30 on 30. I don't know if you've ever seen ESPN's 30
ESPN
on 30.
documentaries, yeah.
30 and 30. Amazing show. If you've never watched it before, it's a great series.
It digs deep in like different stories of sports that you wouldn't normally hear. True stories behind some of the greatest sports dynasties, drug problems, what have you. Right?
Yeah, just things they delve into a topic in sports that they break it down by going in depth in. For example, they had the one about Jimmy Valvano, and his team, the famous college basketball coach who took his team and under Cinderella team to the Final Four, and they beat Houston, who was 5 slamma-jamma with Hakeem Olajuwon and
he got
Clyde
cancer
Drexler.
a little bit later on and passed away. Yeah.
So. I was watching ESPN 30 for 30 on TV.
Just to interrupt, though, my favorite one, though, was the U. The one they talk about the Miami Dynasty.
And it was so popular, they did 2 of them. They made the U, too.
Yeah, the U was probably their best one that I've seen so far.
Yeah.
Not to get off subject, I know what you want to talk about, but I just love how badass those guys were back in the 80s. They didn't care. And even in the 90s, and then again in the 2000s, it's like that was a team that you just didn't fuck with.
Yeah. Yeah,
it was cool, man.
Well, before The Rock became The Rock, he was Dwayne Johnson, linebacker or in
defensive
end or something at the U.
Yeah, and it was even one of the badass starters. He was like the second or third string. So
didn't he get hurt like his first season or second season? He got hurt and then never.
I don't know.
He took a little bit of a cut and then he kind of sold himself.
I'll text him later on and see what he says.
Yeah.
Hey, buddy, what happened in college
me?
again? We talked about it tonight. I just need you to remind me.
That'd be great.
Yeah,
that'd be great.
We'll do an editor's note.
Well, the one that I was watching was called The Real Rocky. And the story is that there was a boxer in the 50s, 60s named Chuck Wepner, Wepner. And supposedly Sylvester Stallone had seen him fight someone or something and took his story and wrote Rocky based on Chuck Wepner's story. And I guess Chuck Wepner was, the name doesn't really sound familiar, but I guess he actually had a fight with Muhammad Ali and knocked him down in the fight. So Chuck Wepner was a name of that small town hero. He's from New Jersey, got his chance against the champion, and he didn't win. He got knocked out. Muhammad Ali decided that he didn't like being.
So in this case, Muhammad Ali was Apollo Creed in the movie.
Right. But Sylvester Stallone
was Chuck Wepner.
And he wrote the Rocky series based on Chuck Wepner. Chuck Wepner got mad because he said, hey, look, you're writing this story about me. You're making millions of dollars. Where's my cut? And I guess he sued Sylvester Stallone for I don't know if it's royalties or some sort of settlement to pay for basically his name.
Well, my question to this is, how did he know? Was it just coincidence that he found this out, or how did Sylvester Stallone go out and say, hey, I wrote Rocky based on you, so thank you for being you, buddy?
In the beginning, Sylvester Stallone was not shy about relating to the fact that Chuck Wepner was his inspiration. So it's not like they knew each other, they had talked to each other. It wasn't like there was no communication between the two of them.
So it was an inspiration.
It was inspiration, yeah.
So he inspired Sylvester Stallone to write this movie, the story.
Sylvester Stallone saw him fight someone and said, wow, this is a story about a guy who never gives up, who fights, who's from not the best background, and yet still had something big happen to him in his life, and so he just documented it. Rocky, Sylvester Stallone did.
Yeah, but why is this guy pissed?
Well, and I guess the question that spurred up in my mind as I'm watching this, because now that we do this podcast, I'm always constantly trying to think of, well, what's the next podcast? What's the next thing we can talk about?
So you want us to go steal ideas from someone else's podcast?
I'm wondering, when is your life
not your life
no
anymore?
Longer your life anymore?
I don't. Anytime. Really, it's any given time, to be honest with you.
Well, this guy's life was fictionalized by Sylvester Stallone. To me, that sounds like that's not something that Sylvester Stallone should have to compensate him for. He took his life and he fictionalized it. Now, sure, a lot of it. If he had gone in and taken his life and didn't give him, credit for it, but I would never even have known who Chuck Wepner was.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I don't think he gave him credit for it because I didn't know who he was either till you brought this up.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
so when you're dealing with someone's life, because we see it now in movies all the time. There's, the fictional scripts have been so churned and burned that now movie makers are saying, if I want a really good movie, all I have to do is find a real life story somewhere, and I can make it into a blockbuster movie because it's a real life. It's something that really, really happened.
Well, I think anyone in this world today, there's no originality. You have to, instead of creating your own story, there's only 7 basic storylines in Hollywood, in the world period, and I think you and I've had this argument. I can see with the look on your face that you think,
wow,
you think
I
it's
just rolled
bullshit.
my eyes a little bit.
You did. You probably gave yourself a concussion, but there are 7 basic storylines.
Yeah.
Boy meets girl, boy falls in love with girl, boy loses girl, boy has to get girl back. Just for example, is one of them.
Okay, so romance,
comedy,
war,
or
struggles,
conflict. Exactly.
Okay.
So you can only rehash that so many times.
And do you feel that if you take my life and you write a book about it, that I should be entitled to any sort of compensation for it?
Well, if I sat down and said, hey, Jason, let's have a beer and you tell me about your life. Tell me everything about you, every minute detail about your life. And then I'm going to see if I can recreate it in the book. I'm going to see if I can make you sound cooler than you think you sound.
Well, and there's some writers that have the skill sets to be able to do that. In fact, there's some writers that probably have the ability to make my life, which I don't think is that exciting or is that cool or anything like that, but make my life sound like just badass.
Well, and maybe it is in some areas. But unless I'm sitting there saying, I'm going to write a book based on your life, I can take these stories or whatever else, write them, no big deal. And, it's a book. It's an original book as far as I'm concerned.
Okay. Do you owe me any money for that?
Do I owe you? No, I don't owe you shit for that.
I personally don't think you owe me anything either, but that's me. I don't know. It seems like when you're at a point like that.
Are you at a broke, down on your luck boxer from the 50s that's looking for a quick buck? Was Chuck Wepner in a good financial position when he approached Sylvester Stallone about wanting compensation?
It didn't make it sound like he did. It sounded like that he because back in that day it wasn't a business like Merriweather's made it a business now. Yeah. Back then it wasn't a business. It was just
Pride.
You were a boxer and then you also were a liquor salesman.
Yeah.
You were a liquor salesman that boxed, and that's what his life was. Well, obviously the Rocky franchise they say is worth $2 to $3 billion.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
And let's be honest, that movie catapulted Sylvester Stallone into a major movie star.
Yeah, he won an Oscar for the screenplay, right?
Yes, and for the best movie, I believe,
movie?
as well.
Yeah.
And so does Sylvester Stallone owe something to Chuck Wepner for using his character as the impetus to creating this?
You said Chuck Wepner grew up in New Jersey, right?
Yeah.
And Rocky obviously grew up in Philly.
Yeah.
Very close, but yet not the same.
They both had a chance to fight the big heavyweight champion character. Both of them lost the fight. But most people most boxing enthusiasts would say that Chuck Wepner's fight with Muhammad Ali, it went 14 rounds of the 15.
Wow.
Yeah. So and he was getting beat up. Well, I won't sort of try to say that it was a close fight, but he held his own.
Yeah.
Where many men better than Chuck Wepner did not hold their own.
And I would love to sit here and say that Stallone owes that guy. That Stallone owes that guy a lot. But he took the story that this guy was a from the streets fighter that trained hard, worked hard, and got his chance at the champ. That's a great story. That's an underdog story. That's a story that comes up no matter what. That's one of the 7 basic principles, the underdog story. Now, does Chuck Wepner want compensation for Rocky 2? Or was that where he fought Thunder Lips?
Rocky 3 was where he fought Thunder Lips.
What about Ivan
okay,
Drago?
so here's a perfect example. Rocky 3, he thought Rocky fought Thunderlips. In real life, after the fight with Muhammad Ali, Chuck Wepner actually had a match with Andre the Giant, a real life match.
Oh.
So the parallels are very striking.
Mm-hmm.
And even though it's a fictional character, if you did know Chuck Wepner, you might say, okay, now you're breaching into, you're stealing my life.
All right. So what about Ivan Drago? I mean, at what point did Chuck Wepner go to Russia, chase a chicken?
Well, I think we can both agree that the
artistic
things
creativity
fell off after Rocky III,
yeah.
and maybe Chuck Wepner just said, "Hey, you can't steal my life anymore."
Yeah.
Oh shit. Okay, I'll do.
When exactly did Stallone jump the shark in this case?
Exactly, jump the shark. I just think that at some point there needs to be a line of when is our life ours and when is our life not ours. Have you seen the movie The Founder?
Yeah, with Ray Kroc about McDonald's.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I look at that movie, and it kind of carries me into a different direction because the two McDonald's brothers created McDonald's. They created the concept of McDonald's.
Mm-hmm.
Ray Kroc took the concept and made it what it is today, or started the path of making what it is today. But he did it by taking their idea out from under them.
Yeah.
And basically, I don't want to say stole the idea, but bought them out.
Well, it's Mark Zuckerberg and Facebook too. It's
yeah,
same concept, same principle.
Concept. So the question becomes: if you have the great idea, but you don't have the skill sets or the forethought or the vision to take it to where McDonald's is today,
mm-hmm.
and someone else does. One, is it wrong for that person, for Ray Kroc, to basically take it out from under them?
I don't think so. I think if Ray bought him out,
he did,
became partners, and then expanded it. It's, hey man, you had the good idea, but you didn't have the wherewithal to expand it. If I sell it to you, you do what you got to do. Carry on my wayward son. You took it. Now it's a multi-billion-dollar corporation all over the world selling shitty hamburgers. Hey. I got respect for that.
Well, no one would argue that McDonald's is a world-class company. No one would argue. I mean, but without Ray Kroc, McDonald's would have been one store, San Bernardino, California, and would have been a great restaurant, but that's it. So the thing that struck me about it was that the way that Ray Kroc handled that whole business was kind of shady.
Yeah.
And I know it's business, but he was willing to basically just do anything to get what he wanted, to the sacrifice of doing a morally right thing to do.
Well,
and the question for me is,
that's business.
Is that what business is then about? You just shyster whoever you need to you make it so you make it to the top?
Well, no. I mean, some people have that mentality, but it goes back to what's the topic for today? Are we talking about shystering people out of their businesses or taking people's lives and making money off of it? Because if
now if you have to ask that question, you're not getting the point, because McDonald's brothers, that was their life.
Yeah,
that restaurant was their life.
But they sold out.
But it was still their life. He took it. He took their life.
Like by force?
Yeah.
Well,
he took their life. I mean, if you watch the movie, he had an agreement with them, and he went around the agreement because he didn't like the deals of the agreement, and he took their restaurant, and they realized that he took it. He took the restaurant. Now, yeah, did he pay them? Of course he did. Just like the two brothers in the Social Network.
mm-hmm.
Those guys were the flash of genius. Those were the guys that came up with the concept. Now, Mark Zuckerberg took it and expounded it. But he took their idea. And whether he wants to argue schematics or not, Facebook was not something that he thought of before he talked with the two brothers from Harvard. So it's the same concept in me. You're taking something that's their life, their flash of genius, their creation, and on the positive, you're turning it into something significant that, frankly, the two brothers from the Social Network would not have would not have done it on their own. They wouldn't have come up with what Facebook is without Mark Zuckerberg. But Mark Zuckerberg got sued for it, and he had to pay money for it.
Yeah.
So obviously the courts, I think Wepner settled for something. They never told us how much he settled for. They paid on the founder. They paid Ray Kroc. Ray Kroc paid them. And back in the 60s, $1.35 million a piece.
That's a lot of money.
That's a lot of money. So, that's okay. But, is there a financial responsibility or is there a moral responsibility with taking someone's idea and making sure that they get compensated or paid for it?
I think there is a moral responsibility for it. If you're going to take it, if you're going to knowingly take someone's concept, Facebook, McDonald's, what have you,
Now, I'm probably going to get sued by Zuckerberg because he's probably going to say, hey, no, Facebook is my idea.
Yeah, but either way, though, if you take that idea, compensate. You got to sell them. That's business. Shady as it might be, if you're paying for a product or something, man, it's not my business to figure out how you do yours. But if you come to an agreement with somebody, that is what it is.
Now, there was a point in the founder where Ray Kroc asked the brothers to restructure their deal. Mm-hmm. And if they had said, yes, let's do this, we're making money, we're going, I want to be part of this, let's do whatever you're doing is great, who knows, they might have still been part of the McDonald's business, but they didn't. They told them, no, you're getting your little piece, that's what you want to do. Their biggest thing was they didn't want a franchise. They didn't want a franchise. They wanted to have their one store. And, the flash of genius that they had, Ray Kroc took it to a whole new level. But at the end, now, the portrayal obviously could be wrong, but the portrayal was, I'd be willing to do anything to crush my enemies. Are you willing to do the same thing? They said no. He said, you better sell to me then. And I'm thinking, wow, that's what business is?
Yeah.
That's what the business world is all about?
That's what some people are like, yeah. It's harsh.
Yeah.
It's a dog-eat-dog world, man. If you're wearing milk-bone underwear, you're gonna get it in the end.
And we have certain people in this world. I mean, I think I don't know Donald Trump, but I have a feeling that's exactly how he runs his business.
I've got no doubt in my mind about it. But
I will
that
crush
being
you.
said,
I will not honor my responsibilities. I will do whatever it takes so that I make money.
That being said, though, that's a completely different realm than Chuck Wepner.
In what way? How is it different? I mean, how is the relational topic different?
The relational topic is, the difference here is that Chuck Wepner, his life was a story that Sylvester Stallone heard, wrote his own story about, changed the names, changed the locations, changed the dates, and ran with it. He inspired it. So we have the story about a boxer, and Stallone writes this story, loosely based off Chuck Wepner's life. Changes names, changes dates. Why he didn't write that with Stallone. Wepner didn't write that.
Okay.
He lived that story. How Stallone heard it, I don't know. I mean, that was before the internet, so I'm sure it was. Maybe he followed him. Maybe in a boxing match. Maybe he saw him randomly when he was back east. I don't know. Maybe he sat down, had a coffee with him, or had a beer with him, and Chuck told him that story. We don't know those answers.
Yeah, I think that according to the 30 and 30, it was more of just I saw him fight one day. I heard his story. Someone found out his story, and it just inspired me to write Rocky. Zuckerberg had a conversation with the brothers about an idea to create a Facebook. Or not Facebook, I'm calling it that, but an idea where it's a portal where people can have social things going on. He takes that idea and he creates Facebook. Yeah. Do the brothers deserve anything for that?
They got compensated for it.
Not originally.
Not originally, but they did.
Yeah, they had to sue him for it.
Well,
Chuck Wepner had to sue him for it. My question is, do they have a case to sue against that? When does the idea become yours, or when does Chuck Wepner's life become Sylvester Stallone's?
I'm not a lawyer, so I really can't get into it. But I think if you're willing to sit down and tell anybody your story, if you're going to go to a bar, have a beer, have too many beers, and tell somebody this extravagant life story, that's you. And then they take that story and they make an Oscar-winning movie off of it. Unless like they call this the Jason Edgeworth story. how are you going to know? You're like, that's a lot of similarities. It's a lot of similarities right there.
And I mean, it seems like that all three of those stories, the founder, social network, and Rocky, all of them were sued. All the people were sued or had legal actions taken against them, and all three of them had to pay a settlement to take care of the person. So I guess maybe the answer is that at this point, that if you have the flash of genius, then you are responsible for getting compensated if someone takes it to the next level.
That's probably true, man. It's probably very true. It's how willing are you, how far and willing are you to go to sue someone for that your piece of your story?
Well, and I think that in both the founder and the social network, those guys were pissed. So they sued because they were pissed. And then like Zuckerberg's and Kroc's attorney said, you need to pay these guys off. You need to pay them off. Now, they had so much money that, even back in the day, Ray Kroc said, okay, I don't want to pay $2.7 million, but I'm worth billions.
Yeah,
of
I'll make
dollars.
more in the long run,
Yeah.
so that doesn't make a difference.
So, yeah, the other question I have is, I think that if I came up with an idea that was worth something, and someone said, I'm going to give you $5 million for your idea, and then that person took that idea and made it Facebook or made it a McDonald's, I think I'd be okay. I really do. I think
it's because they give you $5 million up front for it.
They gave me $5 million, but for some people, I'm sure that they would look at that and they'd say, okay, I had this great idea and I'm not making any of the money off of the great idea. I mean, I'm not making what Mark Zuckerberg is making for the idea. There we go.
Yeah, but you're not doing all the work that Zuckerberg's doing though either.
There's no, and
you had to compensate. You had the idea. You got compensated for the idea. They took that idea that you came up with and ran with it. I think that's the biggest difference.
Yeah, but don't you think that idea, let's take the Facebook idea, the idea for Facebook. Do you think now in hindsight that Facebook idea is worth more than $5 million?
Oh, with what it does now? Yeah.
Yeah. So some people might argue, well, you stole the idea. You got an idea for $5 million that's worth $100 billion, $200 billion.
Now it is based on what he's done to it and done with it.
Right.
Not what they had. If he would have bought it and left it the way it was for $5 million, we'd be talking about a MySpace-like website.
MySpace. I never got into the MySpace world. By the time that I was even ready to get into Facebook, MySpace was like
on its way out.
Well, yeah, because I think the difference for MySpace is they made it geared toward kids.
I don't think so.
Really?
I don't think so. It was the first social media platform where, you got to see and what everyone else is up to, and there's a lot of similarities between that and Facebook now.
So why did MySpace fail?
That's a good question. I think just the popularity of Facebook took over. MySpace wasn't changing as fast. That's a lot of I don't know, to be honest with you. I don't know. It's been sold off a couple times. The last I heard, Justin Timberlake owned it.
Oh, really?
And it was a music website.
Oh, that's kind of cool.
So,
see, we transform.
Yeah, it's you evolve.
Now, and maybe because I think small, but I think $5 million for a piece of energy coming from my brain. That's pretty good. I mean, I came up with an idea. Someone said, "Man, I can do a lot with that idea. I'm going to give you $5 million for it." Sure.
Yeah, you take the money and you run. You take that money and you run.
But maybe that's why I'm a small-minded person, and big-minded people would say, "Oh, dude, you're a total idiot."
I don't know, because they might have taken your idea and made it 10 times better. You're looking at your idea saying, "No, this is how it's going to work." The idea you have in its own is worth $5 million, but the idea evolved, grown, and nurtured could be worth $500 million.
And the reality to me that I would be scared to think about, but probably would be true, is that I don't know if I could have made Facebook. Even if I came up with the idea, there's no guarantee that the flash of genius and my input into that would make Facebook a success. Whereas it took the right person, the right vision, the right mindset.
That's what I'm saying.
Well, Apple, perfect example. Steve Jobs left.
Yeah.
He left the company, and it almost failed.
Mm-hmm.
It almost failed. And when he came back, now it's one of the largest companies in the world. So what is it about Steve Jobs or Bill Gates or any of these guys that if they're not there, it's not the same company?
That's true. Sometimes it's about the leadership. Who's at the wheel?
Right. And, coming back full circle to Chuck Wepner, let's say that the movie did come out
Mm-hmm.
and Chuck Wepner's life skyrocketed. By the same argument, would his success, would he owe that to Sylvester Stallone and have to pay him for any success that he got from the movies?
That's a good question.
I mean, if you're going to look at it the other way, I mean, first of all, Rocky didn't ruin this guy's life.
No.
I mean, it didn't destroy his life. Where some of these movies, I guess you could write a movie about someone and it could destroy their life.
No, I agree.
Then you destroyed someone's life with your movie, but
and
going the other way,
this made it better.
Yeah.
So if
it
it
made it better, then
shouldn't you have to compensate the other way?
Shouldn't you have to give some of your money for that?
You would
Wouldn't
think.
that be funny?
Yeah.
Wouldn't that be good? So
let me wrap it up with this question: if someone is making the Jason Edgeworth movie, story of your life, who's playing you?
Oh, who is playing me? Oh, that's a tough question. I don't know.
Like a Mark Wahlberg?
I always thought
he seems to be in all those movies like that.
Yeah, Mark Wahlberg might be pretty good, but Mark Wahlberg's a little more, manly, tough than I am.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm more of a soft, lovable type. Maybe a Kevin James, maybe.
A Kevin James?
Kevin James, jovial, kind of.
Wow.
Kind of a deep guy.
Wow. Who plays me in your autobiography of your life?
Oh, God, that's easy.
If you have Kevin James, man, that's...
Yeah, I need someone good, though.
Wow.
Yeah. I'm thinking about that guy from the Chicago Fire, the guy who was dating Lady Gaga.
I don't know.
Yeah, that's you, buddy.
I have no idea.
Good-looking guy, strong, strapping dude.
I thought Lady... No, okay. I'll take that as a compliment.
Okay, so if we're writing your story...
I have no idea who that is.
Who do you want to be your doppelganger?
Who's my doppelganger?
Yeah.
I get mistaken for McSteamy a lot from Grey's Anatomy, but that's too easy.
So
We've
what's that
talked
guy's
about
name?
that. Yeah, I don't know.
Patrick Dempsey.
No, that's
McDreamy.
Yeah.
I don't know who McSteamy is.
Yeah.
I don't watch that Grey's Anatomy.
But I don't know, man. I mean, this is like a dream casting, like here, like anybody.
Oh, heck yeah.
I'm a bigger guy. I'm a bigger guy, so...
Kevin James?
Kevin James? Is Sandler busy?
Yeah.
I don't know. Chris Hemsworth, would that be a good one?
Thor? Oh, yeah. Yes.
Would that
Chris
work?
Hemsworth would be good.
That'd be kind of cool, because if I could, listen, the guy who played Thor played me, so, take that for
you know who
will.
could be you so easily?
Who?
Leo DiCaprio, man.
You think?
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
I'm not sure I'd be okay with that.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh man, come on.
Leo can play you in the story.
No, I think I'm Tom Cruise.
Tom Cruise? I will get Tom Cruise to play you.
I'm a huge fan of yours, dude. I watch every single one of your movies, even the crappy ones.
He tried to drag us to The Mummy.
So if you and I went to go see it, and it was okay.
Almost $400 million worldwide.
Yeah, it was
terrible
okay.
reviews. $400 million worldwide.
It was okay because the action was good. Mm-hmm. I really want to see his American-made movie.
I want to see that one too.
Once again, true story.
Mm-hmm.
So anytime it's a true story, we're going to come back to this topic. Should someone be compensated for use of their true story?
That's true.
And or if that's the case, we have some legal minds that listen to our podcast. It'd be interesting to hear your take on this. So go to
Tweet
Twitter,
us, hit us up, text us,
send us Facebook, drop a message on Facebook.
Send us a formal grievance of never mind. Just
no, I think it's an interesting legal concept.
I think so too.
That was all spurred on because I was watching TV.
So once again, you can find us on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram at Liquid Kernedge. Drop us a line. We want to hear about your favorite based on a true story. Or if you have a story like that'd be cool to be turned into one. Let us know. But thanks everyone for listening to us today. It was a fun topic.
Well, it was definitely a topic that it's a flash of genius. And if I can get paid for my flash of genius on this particular topic, then let's do it.
All right. With that, I'm going to leave you on this one.
No, I'm just kidding.
I'm Scott.
I'm Jason. And as always, if you're never quite sure what to say, just have yourself some Liquid Kernedge.